Every empire, every fortune, every revolution begins with the same invisible force: human nature. Not economics, not policy, not luck. Human nature. The predictable machinery of emotion that governs every decision, every alliance, every betrayal. To understand wealth, you must first understand people, not what they say, but what they crave. Most chase money as if it were the prize. But money is only the mirror. It reflects the hierarchy of desire. It exposes who truly leads and who merely reacts. To master money is to master the impulses that drive it: fear, pride, envy, and hunger. Everything that moves the market moves the man. And everything that moves the man can be designed, directed, and monetized. The Machiavellian does not worship gold. He studies the hearts that worship it. He does not ask, "How do I make more?" but "Whose desires must I control to make more inevitable?" Because true wealth is never earned, it is engineered. Rule 1. Man is governed by desire, not logic. Civilization calls itself rational, but it runs on emotion. People build logic only to justify what they already want. They buy, invest, follow, and obey, not because it makes sense, but because it feels right. The illusion of reason masks the dictatorship of desire. Every transaction is emotional before it becomes financial. The market moves not when new information appears, but when emotion shifts: fear rising, greed falling, hope returning. The skilled manipulator reads these tides, not the numbers. To build wealth, you must ask, what does this person need to feel? Validation, safety, dominance, belonging? Money flows to whoever provides emotional resolution, not economic value. That's why the most successful figures in history, from merchants to monarchs, understood theater better than arithmetic. They crafted experiences that made others feel intelligent, noble, secure. Logic is slow. Emotion is instant. Control emotion, and you bypass reason entirely. The Machiavellian never sells a product. He sells permission to feel worthy, protected, admired. Once you control what someone needs to feel, you own their choices, and that ownership compounds faster than interest. Rule 2. The herd craves illusion, not truth. Truth is a burden. Illusion is comfort, and the masses always choose comfort. People do not want reality. They want reassurance. They want stories that confirm their worldview, no matter how false. That is why propaganda works, why luxury sells, why faith endures. To build wealth, you must understand this brutal fact. Most humans don't want to think, they want to believe. The rich do not sell truth, they sell dreams that feel true. Every luxury brand, every influencer, every political leader thrives not by being honest, but by being hypnotic. They create worlds where people can momentarily escape inadequacy, and they charge for entry. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who deceives will always find someone who will let himself be deceived." The game hasn't changed. In the digital age, illusion has simply become scalable. The trick is not to lie, but to curate perception. Tell the herd what aligns with its collective ego, and it will build your empire for you. Show them symbols of confidence, and they'll crown you competent. Feed them hope, and they'll pay for your narrative. Truth is irrelevant in commerce. Perception is truth. The Machiavellian doesn't fight delusion, he monetizes it. Rule 3. Control perception, and you control value. Value is not found, it is assigned. Nothing, no object, no skill, no brand has intrinsic worth. Everything is worth what others believe it's worth, and belief can be engineered. Gold has no value outside collective faith in its rarity. Cryptocurrency, art, and influence follow the same law. The powerful understand this. They don't chase what's valuable. They create value through perception. Control perception, and you can make the worthless seem priceless. This is how power manipulates markets, trends, and reputations. The Machiavellian crafts scarcity, not by limiting supply, but by inflating desire. Look deeper. Every fortune, from empires to startups, was built not on reality, but on shared belief. Tesla is not a car company. It's an idea of the future. Gucci is not leather. It's social elevation. Money flows not to what is real, but to what is believed. So, learn to sculpt belief. Design your narrative. Speak not to logic, but to identity. The moment people feel your vision reflects who they want to be, they'll defend your value more fiercely than their own. Because when perception becomes reality, the manipulator becomes the market. Rule 4. Predict the weakness, the market of egos. Every human being is a walking market, trading validation for acceptance, pride for admiration, fear for safety. Beneath all transactions lies ego, fragile, hungry, easily manipulated. To understand people is to understand leverage. Every ego hides a weakness, the desire to be seen, to be right, to be envied, to be obeyed. Identify which one rules your audience, and you can name your price. The powerful do not exploit markets. They exploit egos. The investor who fuels bubbles, the brand that monetizes status, the leader who weaponizes outrage, all are playing the same psychological game. Ego creates blindness. When someone feels powerful, they stop thinking critically. When they feel superior, they underestimate the quiet. That's when the Machiavellian strikes. He feeds the illusion of strength while siphoning control. In negotiation, flatter before you demand. In business, praise before you price. In conflict, allow the other to feel victorious, while you win quietly in structure. The most elegant domination is the one that feels like affirmation. The wealthy understand this. You do not need to crush the ego, just direct it. Make the fool think he's leading, and he'll pull your chariot himself. All wealth begins with the same blueprint, the predictable irrationality of man. Before you study economics, study emotion. Before you chase money, chase understanding. Every empire collapses when its architects forget this law. Human nature is not your obstacle. It is your raw material. The Machiavellian doesn't change people. He rearranges them. He builds not with stone or steel, but with the architecture of desire itself. Rule 5. People fear loss more than they desire gain. The average person will risk everything to avoid losing nothing. This is the paradox of the human mind. We are wired not for progress, but for preservation. We overvalue what we already own and undervalue what we could achieve. The manipulator turns this weakness into leverage. People do not act because they see opportunity. They act because they fear regret. Every marketer, politician, and investor who has ever moved the masses has mastered the art of orchestrating controlled fear. They paint the loss, not the gain, the empty plate, not the feast. The Machiavellian never says, "Invest in this," he whispers. "Imagine missing out." He never says, "Follow me." He implies, "Without me, you'll be forgotten." Loss aversion shapes entire economies. Wars are fought not to gain land, but to avoid losing face. Corporations overspend, not to innovate, but to preserve dominance. Even love clings to this rule. People stay not for joy, but from fear of being alone. If you want to control behavior, threaten what people already value. Remind them how fragile it is. Then, position yourself as the only insurance against loss. Money follows security, and security is always psychological before it is material. The market rewards those who understand one truth. People will pay any price to keep what they fear losing. Rule 6. Give them agency, take their power. Nothing makes a person easier to control than the illusion of control itself. People resist force, but obey freedom. When they believe they are choosing, they do not notice they are being led. The Machiavellian does not command. He guides the options. He does not restrict choice. He curates it. Democracy itself is built on this principle. The masses vote within the boundaries designed by the elite. The illusion of agency stabilizes control. People defend their captors when they think they chose the cage. In business, this translates into design. Present two options, both leading to your goal. Offer discounts that expire. The buyer chooses urgency. Let employees decide on the strategy you already framed. Let followers feel they discovered you. The strongest authority is invisible. When people feel ownership, they stop questioning direction. They will fight for your system because they believe it is theirs. To manipulate the mind, never demand submission. Offer the illusion of independence. To the ego, freedom is not a state, it's a feeling. Feed that feeling, and you can build empires in plain sight. Rule 7. Build dependency through value. Influence decays unless it breeds dependency. To stay powerful, make others need you more than they like you. Dependency is the architecture of every empire, from kingdoms to corporations. Religion promises salvation dependency. Governments promise safety dependency. Brands promise identity dependency. The Machiavellian does not give value to please, he gives value to bind. When you give someone a tool they cannot live without, you own their continuity. When you become the bridge to their survival, social, emotional, or financial, they will guard your interests as if they were their own. True wealth is not measured in numbers, but in dependencies owned. The landlord owns the tenant's shelter. The employer owns the employee's time. The influencer owns the follower's attention. The software company owns the user's workflow. Each is a different form of the same currency. Control through usefulness. So, give strategically. Teach people just enough to rely on you for the rest. Offer them certainty they can't replicate alone. Become irreplaceable, not because you're the best, but because you're the only one who fits. Remember, love fades, loyalty shifts, but dependency endures. When people fear losing access to you, you've already won the war without fighting it. Rule 8. Use contradiction to command attention. Human minds are drawn to conflict, to paradox, to mystery, to things that shouldn't coexist, but do. The brain craves patterns, but it's addicted to the break in them. Contradiction is gravity. The greatest manipulators know that the fastest way to capture attention is to disturb equilibrium. Be predictable, and you disappear. Be paradoxical, and you dominate. The Machiavellian embodies duality. He is kind, yet dangerous, humble, yet untouchable, transparent, yet unknowable. This dissonance hypnotizes. People cannot categorize what they cannot understand, so they fixate on it. They mistake unpredictability for depth and mystery for power. Brands, too, use contradiction. The rebel brand sells to conformists. The minimalist brand markets luxury. The tech billionaire wears rags. The spiritual guru charges thousands. Each contradiction creates cognitive tension. The audience resolves it by assigning significance. In persuasion, contradiction is a weapon. Speak calmly about dangerous things. Smile while revealing uncomfortable truths. Make people doubt whether they love or fear you. Once they can't decide, you own their focus, and focus is the first step to influence. Attention is the currency of the 21st century, and contradiction is the mint. The Machiavellian crafts it intentionally, every paradox, a magnet, every inconsistency, a lure. The masses crave simplicity, but worship complexity. Give them both, and they'll follow you anywhere. Rule 9. Turn attention into currency. In the past, power was measured in land, gold, or armies. Today, it's measured in attention. The new aristocrats are not kings or conquerors. They are those who can command the collective gaze. Attention is the purest currency because it cannot be printed, borrowed, or stored. It must be earned or taken. Every second of human focus is a transaction. Every scroll, every click, every glance is a silent vote in the global market of perception. The Machiavellian understands this. Control where people look, and you control what they value. Influence now trumps infrastructure. One well-placed narrative can destroy a corporation. One viral illusion can create $1 billion brand. The market rewards visibility, not competence. The loud outmaneuvers the skilled because human attention is emotional, not logical. This is why modern wealth creation begins not with a product, but with an audience. Attention comes first. Monetization follows naturally. The successful no longer ask, "What do I sell?" They ask, "Who is watching and what do they crave?" The true manipulator engineers scarcity of attention. He makes himself visible enough to be desired, but scarce enough to be chased. Every silence amplifies demand. Every appearance multiplies power. In this new economy, whoever controls the lens controls the law. You don't need to own the media, you just need to own the narrative. Rule 10. Build systems, not hustles. The poor trade time for money. The rich trade systems for freedom. A hustle dies when you stop working. A system multiplies while you sleep. The Machiavellian seeks leverage, not labor. He builds architectures of dependency that feed him indefinitely. Networks, platforms, hierarchies. Systems are not about efficiency. They are about permanence. They are the invisible machines that trap attention, convert it into trust, and transform trust into wealth. Every empire in history was a system disguised as service. Religion offered salvation and received devotion. Governments offered order and collected obedience. Big tech offers connection and harvests data. The structure is eternal. Give convenience, gain control. In the digital age, systems are the modern throne. Every algorithm, every subscription, every platform is a miniature monarchy. The builder doesn't need to persuade individually, the system persuades for him. The tragedy of most people is that they remain the gears in someone else's machinery. They work, they produce, they sustain, but they never design. They think effort equals progress, but in truth, effort without architecture is slavery. The Machiavellian doesn't hustle harder. He builds structures that hustle for him. He replaces motion with design, activity with compounding. Because control is not in the action, it's in the system that dictates the action. Rule 11. Engineer trust, then monetize it. Trust is the oldest and most profitable currency in existence. It predates gold, outlasts governments, and compounds faster than interest. People do not buy products, they buy certainty. Every sale, every investment, every vote is a transaction of trust. And like all valuable things, trust can be engineered. The Machiavellian builds trust the same way an architect builds a fortress deliberately, layer by layer. He knows that people do not verify truth, they feel it, so he constructs emotional proof. Authority in tone, confidence in presentation, consistency in behavior. The more predictable he appears, the more believable he becomes. Once trust is built, it must never be left idle. It is a resource to be monetized, not through greed, but through design. Offer stability in a chaotic world, and people will pay for the comfort of believing. The secret is not to appear flawless, but humanly credible. Expose small flaws to appear authentic. Share struggles to seem transparent. This creates the illusion of intimacy, and intimacy converts faster than persuasion. Remember, trust is not earned through truth, it's earned through pattern recognition. Repeat the signals of reliability often enough, and the audience stops questioning the source. The moment people say, "I trust you," they've already surrendered the need to verify you. That is when monetization becomes effortless. The Machiavellian does not demand trust. He manufactures it, then sells it back to the world as credibility. Rule 12. Exploit predictability. The market looks chaotic, but beneath the noise, human behavior loops endlessly. Fear rises, greed follows, pride blinds, panic spreads. The same script repeats, century after century. The genius of wealth lies not in foresight, but in pattern recognition. The Machiavellian doesn't predict the market, he predicts the people who make it. In every crash, there are those who buy too late, sell too early, and panic precisely when told not to. Their emotions are algorithms written in flesh. To exploit them, you don't need prophecy, you need patience. The illusion of uncertainty is the fuel of control. When people feel lost, they cling to guidance. Become that guidance. Speak calm when others scream. Offer logic when others drown in feeling. Stability is the rarest product during chaos. and it sells at a premium. Predictability is the foundation of manipulation. Once you can map reactions, you can design triggers. The gambler's rush, the investor's greed, the consumer's pride, all repeatable, all monetizable. The Machiavellian watches the cycle, not the price. He knows the fall follows the rise, that fear sells better than hope, and that humans never learn, they only forget. The wise do not fight emotion, they schedule it. They let others dance to the rhythm of panic and profit, quietly in the silence that follows. Rule 13. Wealth is a mirror of control. Wealth does not reveal intelligence. It reveals control first over self, then over others. Every fortune reflects a mind that learned to master impulse before manipulating the impulses of the crowd. The undisciplined may stumble into riches, but they will not keep them. Their desires betray them. Their emotions leak power. The Machiavellian understands that the foundation of all external control is internal governance. He rules his instincts as a monarch rules his court, with distance, order, and selective mercy. The masses chase more because they cannot control enough. Their hunger consumes their progress. They spend to feel significant, compete to feel secure, and lose what they gain in the chaos of comparison. Control, however, multiplies value. The calm investor sees panic as opportunity. The disciplined thinker converts silence into insight. The stoic manipulator understands that chaos is only costly to the chaotic. You do not own what you cannot refuse. True ownership is the ability to say no to opportunity, to temptation, to noise. To master money, master mood. Wealth expands not through action, but through composure. When others chase excitement, seek equilibrium. When they burn with greed, cool yourself with logic. Control turns volatility into strategy, and strategy into permanence. Money is not power. Mastery is. Rule 14. Be needed, never needy. Power decays the moment it begs. To depend is to surrender. To be needed is to reign. The entire structure of civilization is built on dependency, on people needing protection, guidance, entertainment, validation. Those who control supply control survival. The Machiavellian arranges his life so that others must orbit his presence, resources, or knowledge. Needy people drain value. Needed people define it. To be needed, you must provide what others cannot easily replace: clarity, courage, access, or certainty. This is not about generosity. It's about scarcity. When what you offer becomes indispensable, you become irreplaceable. Every leader, from emperors to CEOs, engineers, ecosystems that reinforce their necessity. The company cannot move without them. The team cannot decide without their approval. The market cannot imagine progress without their brand. But beware, the line between being needed and being enslaved by need is thin. The manipulator must never crave validation for his role. He provides value coldly, strategically, like a god who sustains creation without attachment to its worship. When you are needed, people protect your interests out of self-preservation. When you are needy, they exploit you. Detach from approval. Design dependency. Let others anchor their identity to your existence, while you remain light enough to leave at any time. That is the quiet dominance of the truly wealthy. Rule 15. Detach to dominate. Attachment is the chain that enslaves even kings. The more you own, the more owns you. The more you crave, the easier you are to predict. And once you are predictable, you can be controlled. The Machiavellian's greatest weapon, therefore, is detachment. He plays the game fully, but feels nothing for its rewards. He uses wealth, but does not worship it. He commands loyalty, but does not depend on it. Detachment is not indifference. It is freedom from emotional leverage. Those who can walk away hold the true power in every negotiation. The investor who can wait, the lover who can leave, the partner who can say no, all bend the dynamic in their favor. Society teaches addiction to validation, to urgency, to identity. Detachment rewires that conditioning. It allows you to see through manipulation because you no longer need what others use to bait you. To detach is to see reality without distortion. To dominate is to move through it without fear. Do not mistake passion for attachment. Passion creates motion. Attachment creates bondage. The Machiavellian cultivates both but controls when to release them. If you can let go of everything, you can control anything. He who needs nothing cannot be bought, blackmailed, or broken. That is the highest wealth, untouchable sovereignty. Rule 16. The final paradox. To own everything, desire nothing. The final lesson is the cruelest and most liberating. You will spend your life mastering desire, only to realize that freedom lies beyond it. The chase for wealth, power, and admiration is not the problem. It's the training. The pursuit teaches control, but the end game is detachment from the very tools that built your throne. Machiavelli would say, "The prince rules by appearing to desire what his subjects desire, while privately desiring nothing at all. That is how he remains uncorrupted. To own everything, desire nothing. When you no longer crave validation, the world seeks yours. When you stop chasing wealth, it gravitates toward your composure. When you release control, your control becomes absolute because it is no longer emotional, only structural. The paradox of power is that it rewards those who could live without it. The paradox of wealth is that it multiplies for those who see through its illusion. The final stage of mastery is not accumulation, it is transcendence. You are no longer part of the market, you are the architect of it, no longer a player, but the designer of the rules. Detachment is not retreat, it is elevation. When your worth no longer depends on the opinions or possessions of others, you become untouchable. To the crowd, this seems divine. To the Machiavellian, it is simply the conclusion of reason. Epilogue: the quiet empire. Wealth is not about more, it is about command. Command of emotion, perception, systems, and self. The world will always belong to those who understand human nature and use it without apology. But the highest form of power is silent, the ability to shape without being seen, to influence without being exposed, to own everything while appearing to own nothing. The Machiavellian does not chase fortune, he architects it. He does not enslave others, he lets their desires enslave themselves. He does not dominate through force, but through inevitability. In the end, there are two kinds of people, those who are moved by emotion and those who move emotion itself. The latter will always inherit the earth quietly, completely, without needing anyone to notice.